Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. Coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We are welcoming everybody here. Dustin was the first one in. Damon Catman from the east of England is here. Juby Joe is here, finally. Renee Steffi's here. Berlinda is here. Hurricane Heather, our friend from Facebook, is here. We're welcoming Hurricane Heather here from California, Northern California. We also have Don Patoka, Sleeping Volcanoes here. Berlinda, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you so much. In the last episode of this program, Berlinda asked a question: is this hurricane going to affect Florida? This hurricane is going to affect Florida in that the remnants of the storm will also migrate east. The remnants of the storm will migrate east. We've already shown you remnants of the storm that have split off from the hurricane that are already headed for Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, and Florida. A great big huge storm in the Gulf of Mexico headed already for Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. That part of the storm probably will not hit the greater portion of Mississippi, although parts of it might. The greater portion of that storm center is going to move east into Alabama and Florida, up into the panhandle of the state of Florida. We've got confirmation of that tonight. I want to also go over here and show you latest footage from Fox Weather. Stay tuned for that in just a second here.
Hey, good Tuesday afternoon, everybody. We thank you for being here with us on Fox Weather at the bottom of the hour. I'm Ian Oliver. This is Fox Weather Now. Right now, we're waiting on a hurricane. We're still waiting. Tropical Storm Francine churning in the western Gulf of Mexico. We're expecting it to become a hurricane before it makes a landfall in Louisiana tomorrow. So this is a broad circulation for now. Thankfully, it hasn't intensified yet, but that is the forecast as we move forward through the overnight hours tonight and into the early part of the day tomorrow. Fox Weather is your Hurricane HQ, and we're tracking Francine's impacts in Louisiana as it nears the Gulf Coast. Earlier today on Weather Command, Stephen Morgan and Marissa Torres spoke with the director of the National Hurricane Center, Dr. Michael Brennan, for more insight into the way the NHC is issuing alerts. Take a listen.
Talk us through this new cone. I know that there was a lot of talk about it leading into the season and how we're seeing those impacts farther inland now. The focus is less about this cone and more about the alerts which your office has been putting out in, of course, collaboration with local National Weather Service offices.
Exactly. So on this cone, you can see the hurricane warning here in red that in the previous cone would have just shown up along the immediate coast goes, well inland, 40, 50, 60 miles. We see those tropical storm warnings in blue covering not just the New Orleans metropolitan area, but all of southeastern Louisiana, even into portions of southwestern Mississippi, tropical storm watches and warnings. So it gives a much better depiction of the wind risk. And again, it does show you that those wind watches and warnings extend well outside the cone itself, both to the west and to the east, given that the size of Francine, especially on the east side, is you're going to see those tropical storm force winds extend out well to the east of the track of the center.
Okay. I'm going to interrupt just briefly here. Again, what did he say was happening here? The outer bands of the tropical storm / hurricane at this point in time are already hitting land over in Texas and over into Louisiana. You can clearly see that on either side of the cone of uncertainty here. Okay? You can see what's going to happen as it approaches land tomorrow.
And you just mentioned the size of Francine. This is a big circulation, almost a gyre. If you've been with us, we were taking a look under the hood with Fox Weather Hurricane Specialist Brian Norcross, but there's also that feature which appears to be something like an inner core within that broader feature that's trying to get going, and that's where we saw that big burst. You could see that on enhanced satellite over the past few hours. That's very cold cloud tops indicating tall, strong thunderstorms wrapping around that little feature. So we'll see if that takes over as the new dominant inner core. There are favorable conditions for strengthening in the western Gulf of Mexico until, which is why we were talking about it, it puts a bit of a cap, thankfully, on the top end of the intensity. The upper level winds, a strong dip in the jet stream on approach to the immediate Gulf Coast. So it likely won't be at peak intensity at landfall, but it'll be awfully close to it because there isn't a lot of time for this to weaken, even as conditions become more hostile with the amount of time we have left before a landfall here. So this is the forecast from the National Hurricane Center, which explicitly shows that strengthening in the short term later this evening, tonight, early part of the day tomorrow. That's when Francine goes from tropical storm to hurricane, and at that point it eventually becomes a higher end category 1 on approach, and for that reason we got these hurricane warnings up for much of the southern coastline of Louisiana. The Big Easy, of course, is no stranger to tropical weather, but now it's all a matter of making sure that residents and businesses are ready before the anticipated landfall that happens during the second half of the day tomorrow. Fox News multimedia reporter Bowen Kadrovich is in New Orleans taking a look at the preparations there. And Bowen, yeah, folks need to be ready. We've got likely less than 24 hours between now and a possible landfall, and a hurricane watch has been issued for Metro New Orleans.
Ian, absolutely, and people are not taking this storm lightly. I've been checking out grocery stores around the city, and each one I go to, you can see people prepping for this storm. They are leaving in cartloads of water bottles, foods, and people.
Sorry about that, guys. Ever since about 3 weeks ago, YouTube has been uploading commercials onto our program, and I can't avoid it.
Be dealing with a lot of some lake flooding or some inland flooding because of that. Most of the water is going to be pushed right into Lake Pontchartrain, and even farther inland we also could see a higher threat for some lakeshore flooding as well. And when we have a shift in the wind, say after Francine's well off towards the north, we also are going to be looking at the winds kind of being the water being pulled out of Lake Pontchartrain, as well as some of the nearby lakes too, and that could lead to a bit of an entrapment as we head into at least Thursday and late Thursday, early Friday. So we'll watch all of these elements very closely, but when we look at an area and like the Gulf Port, a little farther off towards the east, we can also see some of these main impacts take us well into the middle and end of the week. Ian.
The people of Louisiana are well seasoned when it comes to facing tropical storms and hurricanes.
I can't believe it. We just got through with a cut and picking commercial, and all of a sudden it's back again. And they're not even letting us skip this.
Things down a little bit, find their way into the winter. Time now for a little Fox weather flashback. It was 32 years ago this week that Hurricane Iniki struck the island of Kauai. We're over in the Pacific now. It hit the Hawaiian island chain as a Category 4 storm. It was the most powerful hurricane to strike there in recorded history.
And if this hurricane name sounds familiar, Steven Spielberg was filming Jurassic Park in Hawaii when the hurricane hit. Some of the stormy weather in the film actually are real scenes.
Yeah, so for that reason, it really has a legacy. I got a chance to visit Kauai, and there is still, it's a classic, so much Jurassic Park related culture in the place, and with that, you look at exactly what happened. Steven Spielberg made the pivot, but this, just like as depicted in the movie, was a very impactful, a very powerful storm on Kauai.
Absolutely, and even as you go back and look at some of the film, you'll think to yourself, wow, like this is real. They're really going through these scenes in real conditions. So that's just an indication of what a hurricane like Iniki can do. Notice that at one point in time, it went through this slow but progressional process of becoming a Cat 4 storm.
And we talked about this, which is what we didn't see weeks ago with some of the storms approaching Hawaii. Southern track that turned north.
Pivot north.
That's how you get a strong storm to strike Hawaii. We want to leave you with this, a rather uncommon sight over New York City. This was cool.
I thought this was cool too.
I was kind of salty that I missed this when I saw it this morning. The video shot early this morning over Manhattan as something soared into space just before sunrise. No, it's not a UFO, as social media would lead you to believe. It's actually a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, which had blasted off from Kennedy Space Center down in Florida.
Now, the rocket was carrying 4 astronauts into orbit on a private mission called Polaris Dawn. The crew will conduct the first spacewalk by non-professional astronauts. 2 men and 2 women aboard will also travel more than 850 miles above Earth, which is the furthest any human has been on the planet, from the planet, since the Apollo mission.
And we'll
No time to waste, because when hurricanes hit down here, they hit.
The Gulf Coast bracing for Francine's fury. It's set to bring hurricane conditions to Louisiana starting tomorrow. Welcome to Fox Weather Live. I'm Steve Bender. This storm is set to reach the coast early tomorrow afternoon, and it's on track to become a Category 1 hurricane with destructive winds, life-threatening storm surge. This video that you see behind me was actually in Hurricane Ida back in 2021 when it made landfall as a Cat 4 hurricane. The storm surge there was 9 to 14 feet in some of those areas. I cover this on Fox Weather. We're not looking at that same type of intensity, but it just shows you how vulnerable the coastline of Louisiana is, and that's why we have team coverage spread out all along the northern Gulf. You'll see it right here on Fox Weather, your Hurricane HQ, as you'll see the teams have kind of drifted to the east, shifting a little further to the east in anticipation of what could happen with Francine in the hours to come. So a lot to still evolve. A lot has happened throughout the day. So let's get you caught up on everything that's happened today, what's happening now, and what's expected in the days to come. And right now, as we take a quick look at Francine, you'll notice just from satellite imagery, you can see this is really starting to get its act together, especially on the northern side of the storm. The northern core, it is impressive. Let's kick off our team coverage and bring in Fox Weather Hurricane Specialist Brian Norcross, who joins me now. Brian, I mean, the latest advisory, we've seen some of the updates coming in, what that means for New Orleans, but just the shape and the structure, the eye test tells us, you know, Francine still really potent on the northern side.
Yeah, it's on the northern side, which tells us that there's dry air getting into it still. It's a complicated thing because we have very sophisticated computer forecast models now, and they are not simulating what we're seeing with our eyes on the radar very well. So that puts a little bit of a question in what the future forecast is. So here's, take a look at it. It looks very different than it did even a couple hours ago. So where is the center? Is this the eye trying to form here? It kind of looks like it every once in a while. Or is this the bigger circulation here, and this is just some kind of feature, although it's going a very funny direction, I must say. You would think if it were going to rotate around, it would rotate that way, and if it's rotating around something, it would have to be rotating around it up here. We need the hurricane hunters there, and they're on the way. NOAA is deploying 3 planes. They're going to be out there to make the best possible forecast, but we need their eyes on this because what we see on the radar doesn't jibe with what the computer forecasts were earlier today. And then there's all this going on up here. That's those big thunderstorms that you see there, but that you can see they're not really associated with this center.
Okay, those thunderstorms, like I said, are not associated with a hurricane or the tropical storm itself. That storm broke off from the hurricane. That's a storm I told you that is going to be seeded over towards Mississippi and Alabama and will be approaching Florida. Okay? It'll be coming from the west into Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida in the coming probably 24 to 36 hours. Again, what happened last night into this morning? Francine was to be a Category 1 hurricane this evening, and it's very possible it might still. Earlier today, they said Francine would be a Category 2 storm as it hit New Orleans, hit over in Louisiana. It is still not certain where the storm will make landfall. It is still uncertain where the eye will make landfall in Louisiana. Okay? Nevertheless, as I spoke this morning, and you saw earlier on in this report, this hurricane is going to go well inland. The strength of this storm will go well inland, probably 60 miles inland. It will affect over in Lake Pontchartrain, Lake Boron to the east, and over to the west side of Lake Pontchartrain. The winds are rolling in a counterclockwise fashion, which winds will blow westbound. Those winds will bring water from the Lake Boron area into Lake Pontchartrain and will bring all the other water, the storm surge, into Lake Pontchartrain, meaning Lake Pontchartrain is going to flood. Lake Pontchartrain will also flood out to the west, so the residents that live over on the side of the Lake Pontchartrain may see floodwaters. And all of you that live over there need to be well aware of this. You need to be prepared. You saw residents in the film from Fox News getting sandbags ready. Everybody needs to be ready. You need to be preparing right now. You're not going to have much more time to prepare at all. This storm is rolling. The outer bands of this hurricane are already over land in Texas and over into Louisiana. That is the outer bounds of the storm. The storm will hit Louisiana, possibly southeastern Texas tomorrow, for sure. But right now, this storm is a very real storm. It's a very dangerous storm. It's not as dangerous as the 4.0, or not 4.0, the Category 4 and Category 5 storms that we've seen. It's not that dangerous, but it's still a dangerous storm. 70 to 90 mile per hour winds is a very dangerous storm. That's what this storm will have. Okay? That's what this storm will have. Now you're already seeing these thunderstorms. These outer bands of this hurricane, or in this case right now, the tropical storm, is throwing off these outer band storms. These outer band thunderstorms spinning off into tornadoes as well. We've talked about this before. We've already had 6 named storms already this year. There are 12 total named storms that have been forecast. It has not happened yet. Although we have had stronger storms than what we're seeing here hitting over in Louisiana by this time every year. We've had stronger storms hitting every year over into Louisiana by this time in September. This is a very dangerous storm. Hurricane Heather has been saying giving information here in the chat that I think everybody needs to pay attention to. Right now, she's saying it's not the Saffir-Simpson scale. This storm will just be a dangerous one as any other. Okay? Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We need to be very prepared for what is happening. We need to be very prepared for what is happening. Okay? Now, I have a lot of information I want to give you. Okay? I want you to be weather aware. I want you to be very much weather aware. During the next 36 hours, maybe even up to 72 hours, the storm will be raising havoc along the Gulf Coast of the United States, and it will go well inland. As we told you last night, we expect this storm to go over 60 miles inland, and after that, it will reach up into the Great Lakes as a tropical depression, up even into Illinois, Indiana, and even Ohio. Everybody needs to be aware of this, please. You have to take precautions. You have to take precautions. It's your life. It's the life of your family. It's the life of your children and grandchildren, your neighbors, and those people that love you. We need to be taking it seriously, guys. Kevin says he's back. He thinks the government man or YouTube's kicking him off online. That's happened to me all the last 2 weeks. Either YouTube or the government's been kicking me offline for about 2 weeks now. It's been ongoing. I've almost come to expect it anymore. But right now, please stay on topic. This is important. Right now, if you're going to leave New Orleans or that area anywhere in Cameron Parish or any of the other parishes, you need to leave now. You're not going to have any more time to think about it. You need to really think about getting out of Dodge. And I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding at all. You need to seriously think about leaving. Now, if you don't leave, what are you going to do? What are you planning on doing? Right now, I want to talk to you about hurricane do's and don'ts. You need to very seriously, like I said, prepare for riding out the storm. If you're already on the road, you might be seeing and will be seeing traffic. A lot of heavy-duty traffic trying to leave this area. That we told you was going to happen. If you're still planning on leaving, make sure you leave with a full tank of gas. This storm will knock out power. This storm will knock out power, I can guarantee it. Now, as the storm comes into shoreline, and even before that, please do not go outside during the storm. As I said before, the outer bands of this storm have already struck. This is a no-brainer. Even a Category 1 hurricane can reach sustained winds of 74 miles an hour. If you remember back in 2005, when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, you saw Anderson Cooper holding on to a stop sign. If you're watching CNN like I was, we're seeing Anderson Cooper holding on to a stop sign with a Category 3 storm coming in. That's horrible. Those kinds of winds and pelting rain can literally tear people's flesh. Anderson Cooper should not have ever decided to weather the storm in even long sleeve shirt. You cannot do that. A Category 5 windstorm, a Category 5 hurricane, winds are over 156 miles per hour. A Category 5 is winds up and above 156 miles per hour. Wind speeds like this can turn even small debris into deadly missiles. When I was there in New Orleans in the 9th Ward after Hurricane Katrina. I saw pieces of 2x4 that had been jammed through solid walls of homes and businesses, even knocking out brick and going through brick walls. 2x4s being jammed through brick walls with hurricane force winds. The winds pick up the debris, launch it into the air, and then launch it into anything it comes in contact with. It can turn even the smallest debris into deadly missiles. And don't be fooled by the eye of the storm. Don't be fooled by the eye of the storm. There will be a period of calm before the hurricane force winds return from the opposite direction. After the eye wall passes over the land, hurricane force winds will return from the opposite direction. As this hurricane storms into land, it will be storming into land with counterclockwise winds. When the eye wall passes over, all of a sudden the winds will be coming clockwise. Don't be fooled. Also, do not grill indoors. Even though their storm is outside, do not bring your grill in and use it indoors. It's okay to bring it inside, but do not use it inside your home. If your power goes out, don't be tempted to throw steaks onto the barbie. Charcoal or gas grills can release deadly levels of carbon monoxide. Also, during these hurricane parties that everybody likes to call them, we urge everyone, do not get drunk. Do not get drunk or even stay drunk. Do not drink bottled or unbottled, do not drink non-bottled or untreated water. Do not drink non-bottled or untreated water. Floodwaters are often contaminated with bacteria and other contaminants, including sewage. Do not drink tap water. Don't drink any water exposed to floodwaters, including bottled water. If your bottled water has been exposed to floodwaters, do not drink it, because the outer plastic of the bottled water can bring up the contaminants from the floodwaters and will make you very sick, if not even E. coli could kill you. The Food and Drug Administration has tips on how to make your tap water safe to drink. Go to the FDA.gov. Don't drink alcohol, like I said. And I repeat, now I'm saying it 3 times. Don't drink alcohol during a hurricane. You never know when you will need to evacuate at a moment's notice, and you need to have your mind about you. You might have to deal with a life-threatening emergency. You're going to want all your wits about you while the hurricane is raging. Lives are going to depend on it, yours included. That's why some jurisdictions will ban alcohol sales prior to a hurricane. Now, I want to talk about dues as well. Do stock up on lots of water. You still have a little bit of time to go through the stores and pick up any supplies that you may need to have. Now, the stores are going to run out of supplies, guaranteed. The stores did not know this storm was going to hit until a few days ago, and they can only bring in so many supplies before the hurricane. Get your water while you can. Now, I recommend, and this is me speaking, Emergency Management Associates recommends at least 5 gallons of water per person per day. You may also want to buy iodine tablets to clean your drinking water. You want to make sure you have more to eat than chips and salsa. Do not call this a holiday. Do not call this a party. Also, you may not want to have just only bread either. You're going to want to have lots of non-perishable items with nutritional value, especially canned foods. You need to have a minimum of a 3 to 5 day supply per person. A 3 to 5 day supply of water and food per person. Now you're also going to want to prepare your home. You want to prepare your home properly. Clear your yard of furniture or anything else that could blow away. Because those things that are left out on the ground, the hurricane force winds will pick them up and throw them into your house or anywhere else. Those things will become missiles, literally. They can hurt you or anybody else and or destroy property. Cover your windows and doors using storm shutters or plywood. And stay away from windows and doors during the storm, if you can. Make sure your carbon dioxide detector has enough battery life to prevent CO2 poisoning. Make sure your carbon monoxide detector has enough battery life to help protect you from carbon dioxide poisoning. Or even carbon monoxide. If you have a carbon monoxide detector, make sure that has enough battery power as well. Change out your batteries. Get ready for hurricanes by making a plan. We've talked about emergency preparedness plans for a very long time. I've been preaching emergency preparedness plans for years. Literally for years. If you don't already have a preparedness plan, you need to write one immediately. You need to write that preparedness plan immediately. Arnold Smith, when we've been talking about food, Arnold Smith is here in the chat. Schmidt is here in the chat saying peanut butter is an excellent protein source. I agree. But you can't just have peanut butter sandwiches. You need to have plenty of water. Plenty of water. Now, you need to know what you should do if you're told to evacuate or stay at your home. You need to know what you should do if you're told to evacuate or stay at home. Gather your supplies right now. Right now, you need to gather whatever supplies you can, getting your home, your car, and your family ready for the storm. You need to be responsible and prepare for the worst. Make sure you have emergency and evacuation plans in place before the storm hits. If you don't have those plans in place, when the storm hits, you're going to be thinking all kinds of things in your mind, and you're going to forget stuff that you need to be doing. Write it down. Write it down. Write your preparedness plan down. It's not just good for hurricanes, it's good for any other kind of emergency that you're going to face. Make sure your emergency and evacuation plans are in place before the storm hits. Communicate these plans with everyone in your home. Communicate these plans with everyone in your home. Be responsible and prepare for the worst. Make sure you have emergency and evacuation plans in place before the storm hits. Again, communicate these plans with everybody in your home. Find out where the nearest storm shelter is if there's such a thing in your town. Find out where the nearest storm shelter is. Keep track of the storm. I keep telling everybody you need to have an AM/FM weather radio. An AM/FM weather radio. We have here in our home 3 AM/FM weather radios. In case one dies for whatever reason, we have a backup. James Baraka says be analog and digital at the same time. I cannot agree more. Be analog and digital at the same time. Berlinda's saying have plug-ins for your cars so you can heat and charge things. That's a good idea, especially if you've decided to evacuate. You're going to want some way of heating up food, even water for coffee or hot chocolate. I prefer hot chocolate. That's my medicine of the day for me. Have flashlights and extra batteries. We talked about this last night. Build your own or buy a first aid kit. Build your own or buy a first aid kit. We talked about first aid kit and medical kits last night. Now, this is one thing that I have a feeling, because I've seen it happen, that people ignore what the authorities are telling them. Always listen to the authorities regarding whether you should evacuate or stay home. Listen to the authorities. They know best. Once you know that a hurricane is coming, you may hear an order from the authorities to evacuate, meaning leave your home. Never ignore an order to evacuate. When I was at Hurricane Katrina, after the fact, we saw people hiding in attics because the bottom parts of the inside of their home were flooded. People had made their way into attics. Other people saw floodwaters going into their attics, and they smashed up into their roof to get on top of the roof. If you're told to evacuate, leave. Don't stay. Hurricane Heather says, get off the coastal areas. I agree. As I said earlier today, they have already issued evacuation orders. Some of those evacuation orders are mandatory, while others are voluntary. Mandatory evacuations for RVs and motorhomes. Mandatory orders were given last night for motorhomes and RVs to leave Mississippi, Texas, and Louisiana. We talked about those parishes last night. Never ignore an evacuation order. Even sturdy, well-built homes may not hold up against a hurricane. I've seen it, guys. I've seen it. Staying home to protect your property is not worth risking your health and safety. I'm going to say it one more time. Staying at home to protect your property is not worth risking your life, your health, or your safety. Now, you may hear an order to shelter in place or to stay at home. If driving conditions are dangerous, staying at home might be safer than leaving. You need to heed the orders that you're given. If you need to evacuate, grab your emergency supply kit that we've been talking about for 5.5 years, and only take what you need with you. Your cell phone chargers, medicine, food, water, identification like a passport, a license, and cash. Cash, guys. How many times have we told everybody to have cash? Don't carry credit cards because ATMs may not work. Power is going to go out. I can guarantee you by sometime tonight, early tomorrow morning, power is going to be knocked out. Before you leave, unplug your appliances. Unplug your appliances. If you have time, turn off the gas. Turn off your electricity and your water. Follow the roads that emergency workers recommend, even if there's traffic. That is why when the evacuation orders were issued last night, we told you to get out of Dodge. Make sure your car had plenty of fuel and get out of Dodge. Now, like I said, emergency workers may recommend driving certain routes. Other routes might be blocked or flooded. Never drive through flooded waters. How many times have I said that over the years? Never drive through flooded waters. Cars and other vehicles can be swept away and may stall with just 6 inches of water moving across the roadway. Don't chance it. Contact your local emergency management office in your area and ask if they offer accommodations for owners and their pets. Learn more about evacuating your pets. We've talked about this before. Never, and I don't want to ever see it again, having pets stranded in an evacuation area that was flooded by hurricane-force waters. I've seen a dog rescued by Coast Guard personnel. The dog and his buddies were left stranded in a kennel, treading water. Stranded in a kennel, treading water after a hurricane. Don't do it. You now can be arrested for leaving your dog or other animals stranded during any kind of a storm or a fire. Don't do it. If I ever catch anybody ever doing that again, I'll kick your butts. That's a promise. That's not a threat. I will kick your butts. Don't leave your animals by themselves. If you need to stay at home, shelter in place. Keep your emergency supply kit in a place that you can easily access it. Listen to the radio or television for updates on the hurricane. If you don't have an AM/FM weather radio, and you only have an AM/FM radio, turn your radios and or your television sets to a station that has news, weather, and sports. That way they can give you the latest updates on the storm. If you have been watching HGTV or music station or whatever else, they're not going to be able to give you that information. Turn your radios and or your televisions on to news talk station. They will give you the latest information. Okay? Listen to the radio and or television for updates on the hurricane. Stay inside. Even if it looks calm outside, don't go outside. Wait until you hear or see an official message that the hurricane is over. And even then, authorities may tell you to stay inside your homes because of the debris outside. The debris outside your home can be very dangerous. Power lines on the ground that have not been deactivated. Getting anywhere near these power lines with water on the ground can end your life. Don't do it. Sometimes weather gets calm in the middle of the storm, but then it gets really bad really quick, as in the eye of the storm. As the hurricane is first passing over, like I said, it will have counterclockwise winds. When the eye passes over, the winds will change direction and will change to a clockwise wind. That may get you in trouble as well, because you won't recognize it as a hurricane. And then all of a sudden you're going to find yourself in 60, 70, 90 miles an hour winds. Don't do it. Stay away from windows in your homes. Stay away from windows in your homes. You could get hurt by flying debris, broken pieces of glass, or flying debris during the storm. Stay in a room with no windows if possible. Stay in a hallway, for example, that has no windows. Yes, it'll have walls. Stay in a hallway in the middle of the home. That is your best idea. That will be your best relief. Take your emergency preparedness kit, your food, your clothing, your water. Take all of that into the center part of your home for safety. Stay in a room with no windows if possible, or go inside a closet or a bathroom with no windows. You need to all the time be ready to leave. At any point in time during this storm, you need to be ready to leave. If emergency authorities order you to leave, or if your home is damaged, you may need to go to a shelter or a neighbor's home. You need to very well be worried about that. You may want to also contact your neighbors so you all are on the same page. That if someone else's house is damaged and you have to leave yours, be very careful how you leave and then go directly to that other neighbor's home or to a hurricane shelter. Now, after the storm. The storm might be over, but that doesn't mean the danger is over. Quite contrary. Keep yourself and your loved ones safe after the storm. I'm going to give you some hurricane safety tips. Stay out of flood water for the beginning. Stay out of the flood water. It's going to be dangerous. Yes, it could be swift flowing, but it can also be carrying dangerous germs and bacteria, especially after a hurricane. Always follow warnings about flooded roads. Don't drive through flooded areas. Cars or other vehicles won't protect you from floodwaters. Cars and other vehicles can be swept away or stall in moving water. If you have to be in or near floodwater, wear a life jacket, especially if the water is rising. And in some cases, like around Lake Pontchartrain, that is exactly what's going to happen. The streams and rivers through that area can be very dangerous. Stay out of the water, if at all possible. Wash your hands with soap and water if you've been in flood water. If you don't have soap and water, use alcohol-based wipes or hand sanitizer. Floodwaters can contain many things that may harm your health, including germs, dangerous chemicals, human and livestock waste, wild or stray animals, snakes. Snakes are very common in Louisiana and Arkansas. Alligators can also be there. Stay out of water. Stay away from the floodwaters. Down power lines can also be in these floodwaters. Down power lines can also be on these streets or even on the ground, wherever they might be. And if there's any water and those power lines are not de-energized, you're going to get the shock of your life and you may end up dead. You need to learn how to stay safe after a flood. Be careful near damaged buildings. Do not enter a damaged building until local authorities can determine that it is safe. Hurricanes can damage buildings. I saw that in New Orleans. Don't go there until authorities can make them safe. Leave your home or building if you hear shifting or other unusual noises. Leave your home or your building if you hear shifting or unusual noises. Strange noises can mean the building is about to fall. I also saw that happen many times. Ernie Martinez says he saw the Ninth Ward NOLA 30-foot new seawall after the Army Corps of Engineers completed it in 2015 after Katrina and Rita. I also saw pictures of it. I was never able to go back to the Ninth Ward after I left, after my 30 days was up after the hurricane. I never saw that after that. Watch out for your building shifting, loud or strange noises that could indicate your building's going to fall. Stay away from power lines. Watch out for fallen power lines that may be hanging overhead. Don't just watch what's in front of you. Look up. Look up. Stay clear of fallen power lines. Call the electric company if you can to report those power lines being down. Now, I've said this before with fires, I've said this before with earthquakes. If you can't, stay off your phone. Only be on it for a very limited amount of time. Keep the cell phone lines, the bandwidth for the cell phone lines open. Keep the cell phone lines open for emergency preparedness personnel. Police, fire, and medical personnel that may need those lines. Keep them open. Keep them open. Learn how to protect yourself from electrical hazards after a disaster. Learn how to protect yourself from electrical hazards after a disaster. Protect yourself from animals and pests. Use insect repellent, bug spray with DEET, or pericardium. Wear long sleeves, pants, socks when you're outside, and heavy-duty shoes. Long sleeves, why? Because if you're going to be able to help yourself, you may have to be lifting limbs and branches of trees off of your property, away from your home. These limbs and trees could hurt you. The best idea, no matter what the temperature is outside, is to wear long sleeve shirts to protect your body. Protect your body from insects, protect your body from fallen debris, and also to protect your body from the sun. Protect yourself and your family from mosquito bites as well. Mosquito bites are prevalent after a hurricane. Stay away from wild or stray animals after a storm. If you have to, call 911 or your public health department to report those wild animals. Report dead animals to local officials. Any dead animals of any kind, including humans, can spread disease. If someone has died or a dead animal is there, report it to the authorities immediately. Protect yourself and your animals from other animals or pests after disaster. Protect yourself from hazards in your home and around your home. A few minutes ago, I asked you all to change your batteries in your smoke detector, your carbon monoxide detector, and even your carbon dioxide detector if you have them. Fuel burning equipment creates carbon monoxide, CO, and CO2, carbon dioxide. This can include equipment like generators, pressure washers, charcoal grills, camp stoves. You can't smell or see carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide. But if it builds up in your home, it can cause sudden illness and death. Never use portable gasoline or coal burning equipment or camp stoves inside your home, your basement, or your garage. Keep those things outside, at least 20 feet away from any window, 20 feet away from any door, 20 feet away from any vent. Use a battery operator or battery backup CO detector. Anytime you use a generator or anything else that burns fuel, make sure you have a battery backup CO detector, carbon monoxide detector. If you have a carbon monoxide detector and it starts beeping, leave your home right away and call 911. Never use a wet electrical device. I'm going to repeat that again. Never use a wet electrical device. Turn off the power at the main breaker in your home before you leave. Turn off the power at the main breaker in your home if the device is still plugged in. Turn off the main breaker before you leave your home. Now, once you do that, wait for an electrician to check the devices before you're using it again. Call an electrician to come to your home to check and make sure your electrical devices at your home, the electrical wires inside your home, are safe. Let him turn your electricity back on. The same thing goes if you smell natural gas. Turn off the natural gas at the meter. I have repeatedly over the years shown you how to do that. There is a valve. There is a gas line running up from the ground into your gas meter. There is a valve on the side of that gas line, like this. It's only a short valve. A wrench, a crescent wrench, for example, can help you turn that valve like this, thus cutting off the gas feed into your home. Again, do not turn it back on until a fire department representative or a gas representative turns it on for you. Make sure they check your home for any leaks in your natural gas line. Then they can turn it on. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. If the power is out, use flashlights instead of candles. Use flashlights instead of candles. If all of a sudden a great big huge strong wind blew your flame, it might start a fire. Do not use candles. If you have to use candles, keep them away from anything that can catch fire. Always stay near lit candles. Never leave your home, never leave your room that may have a lit candle. Always stay near lit candles. Keep a fire extinguisher handy and make sure your family knows how to use it. Now, I know the hurricane is about to hit, but if you have the opportunity, you can go to your fire department before something like this happens. You can go to your fire department and they will schedule a time where they can show you how to use a fire extinguisher. Okay? Keep a fire extinguisher handy. My wife and I have 2 fire extinguishers, one upstairs in our bedroom and one downstairs in our kitchen. Now, clean up your home safely. We talked about pre-hurricane, making sure everything off the ground has been picked up and put in a safe area, so it's not going to blow around and hurt anybody. Okay? But after the hurricane, clean up your home safely. Now, I like to tell this story because after Hurricane Katrina, a wonderful thing happened. The Catholic diocese brought in 2 semi-trucks full of supplies into the 9th Ward after Hurricane Katrina. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints brought 3 tractor trailers into the 9th Ward. Prior to handing out supplies, a leader from the church asked everybody to have a prayer. And there was a prayer said. There wasn't much of a dry eye after the prayer. There were police hanging out just to prepare to be safe, because they were expecting people to grab anything that they could get their hands on. Lord bless those people that were there handing out supplies, and they blessed those people that got the supplies as well. It was a very safe and wonderful experience. Everybody got along. neighbors helping neighbors, authorities helping authorities, authorities helping citizens. It was a wonderful experience to see. People helping put up tarps over homes that have their roofs blown off. People putting up tarps in front of windows that have been blown out. People taking things that have been blown into walls of homes and buildings and taking those things off, rendering those buildings more safe than they were before. You need to be aware of helping to make your home safe and make your area safer. Be very careful. Take steps to protect yourself and your loved ones during the cleanup after a hurricane. Take steps to protect yourself and your loved ones during a cleanup after a hurricane. Drink safe water. Listen to reports from local officials for advice on water precautions in your area. Do not use water you suspect or have been told that it is contaminated to make baby formula, to make ice, to brush your teeth, to wash and prepare food. Wash your hands and wash dishes frequently. Use bottled, boiled, or treated water that is safe to drink and cook and for personal hygiene. I'm going to repeat that. This is very, very important. Use bottled, boiled, or treated water that is safe for drinking, cooking, and personal hygiene. Your state, your tribal, or your local or territorial health department can help make specific recommendations for boiling or treating water in your area. Contact them for help. Now, we talked about putting food away for a rainy day. A hurricane qualifies for a rainy day. You need to eat safe food. Throw away any food that may have come in contact with flood or storm water. Throw away any kind of food that's come in contact with flood or storm water. Unsafe food can make you sick even if it looks, smells, and tastes normal. Throw away perishable foods that have not been refrigerated properly due to power outages. Also, discard foods with an unusual odor. Discard foods with an unusual odor, color, or texture. When in doubt, throw it out. Again, wash your hands. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Use good basic personal hygiene, and hand washing are critical to help prevent the spread of illnesses and disease. Clean, safe running water is essential for proper hygiene and hand washing. Hygiene is especially important after an emergency like a hurricane. But finding clean, safe running water can sometimes be very hard. Take care of any wounds or injuries to prevent infection. Take care of any wounds or injuries to prevent infection. The risk for injuries during and after a hurricane and other natural disasters is very high. Get first aid quickly to help heal small wounds and prevent infection. Last night, one of the things we talked about is emotional and psychological health. During and after a hurricane, it is natural to experience different and strong emotions. I did, and I was only a police dispatcher and a police officer after Hurricane Katrina. But I experienced those strong emotions as well. They can happen to anyone. If they can happen to me, they will happen to you as well. Please take care of each other. Help each other. If someone that you are with is showing signs of emotional stress or psychological stress, help keep them calm. Talk to them in a calm, reassuring voice. Coping with these feelings and getting help when you need help will help you, your family, and your community. They will help you and your community to recover from a disaster. Last of all, connect with family, friends, and others in your community. Again, take care of each other. Take care of yourself and each other, and know when and how to seek help. Does anyone have any questions about anything we talked about? Arnold Schmidt says when the grid goes down, you're on your own to generate power for your home. If you buy a battery backup system with inverter, the batteries can supply enough power for up to 5 hours, depending on your supply, depending on your solar power. Juby Joe says deep freezers saved him during Hurricane Ike. Take a gallon of water and pour a bit out. Take a gallon of water in a plastic bottle and pour a bit out. Put those inside your freezer to help keep your freezer cold. That will help you keep your food cold as well. That is very good information. Richard Smith just says Juan works very hard to get the best information. Everyone help. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thanks, Richard. We appreciate that. Folks, I am wanting to help you. I've given you the information I have, and as I get more information, I will be passing along. As this storm turns into a full-blown hurricane, I may come back on the air tonight. Otherwise, I will be on the air tomorrow morning to talk about Hurricane Francine. If anything else happens, I will be on the air to tell you about it. Just so you know, this is not over. This is just the beginning. There is a large storm ahead. A large storm that could have winds up to 100 miles an hour, 107 miles an hour. You need to get yourself prepared and get yourself prepared right now. Now, I saw Mark Wages' Wages World program last night. There were many eruptions on the sun. There are eruptions on the backside of the sun, and there have been eruptions on the Earth-facing side of the sun. We are going to be in a G1, G2 class solar storm during the next few days. It's Tuesday today. We should be in a G1, G2 storm through probably Friday, maybe longer than that. We may also see X-class solar storms. X-class solar storms. If something happens, we will be giving you more information. But these storms are very critical. These storms are very critical. There was even a solar storm, a CME from the sun. It was a halo CME, meaning this. The plasma radiation from the surface of the sun went like this, launched itself out into space, and came back to the sun. Some of that plasma radiation went out into space, and it was Earth-facing. It was very much Earth-facing. So we are in the middle of being in a place right now where we will see a solar storm. We will see plasma radiation hitting the Earth within the next 72 hours. We are already seeing plasma radiation hitting the Earth now. Now. We need to protect ourselves. What have we talked about? What have we been talking about? I want to show you this. See if you can see this on the camera. See that white dot on the sun right smack dab in the middle of a sunspot? That black sunspot is Earth facing. If that black sunspot releases a solar flare, it will hit the Earth. If that black sunspot launches a CME, it will hit the Earth, and it will hit the Earth within 72 hours. There have been a lot of solar eruptions. There have been a lot of solar eruptions. For example, these. Look at that. These are not just backside of the sun solar flares. These solar flares were on Earth side facing. Earth side facing the Earth. This is what it looked like from Soho. It's important you understand what this is. Now, I'm not saying it is in a grid down situation. It is not. Nowhere even close. But we are experiencing a lot of solar radiation from eruptions on the sun. We are in a solar maximum. Science has been planning for this for a long time. They've been observing this in times past, but this is the largest solar eruption we've had in a very long time. As I said, I will be getting more information as it comes. I will be passing this information on to you. This is another such eruption yesterday. Right smack dab on the Earth side facing the sun. Right smack dab on the Earth side facing the sun. Okay? That is a lot of radiation. That is a lot of radiation. Okay? Look at this coming out from the prominence on the side of the sun. Look at that. Launching from the side of the sun. Richard Smith says the sun is doing funky stuff. You're right. It absolutely is. But we have not been seeing this kind of activity on the sun in a very, very long time. I want you to see this though, okay? This is a direct hit on the Earth. A partial halo CME moving directly towards the Earth. Look at this. The Earth is right there. We got hit, didn't we? We got hit. See this brown area we see here? That is a solar radiation going to the Earth. Right here at the Earth, notice how the solar radiation thins out here. It thins out because it hit a planet. It hit the Earth. And notice how it goes around the Earth. Notice how it goes around the Earth. That was yesterday. That was yesterday. That was a partial halo CME. Can you imagine what a full halo CME would be? Richard Smith says it looks like the Earth looks like a flying bullet. It literally is. It literally is. The Earth is traveling around the sun at thousands of miles an hour. Tens of thousands of miles per hour. It is literally a flying bullet. And when this radiation hits the magnetosphere, this is what happens. The radiation hits the magnetosphere around the Earth, helping shield the Earth, but the radiation is also hitting the Earth as well. Okay? That's what's happening. Now, Arnold Smith is saying this is a strange hurricane. It just sits there hugging the Mexican coast, spawning baby ribbons heading northwards counterclockwise. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. But what did I show you? What did I show you on radar? Let me bring up another radar image of this storm. Look at that. This was Francine last night, literally hugging the eastern coast of Mexico, going up into Brownsville, Texas. The outer bands of the storm are already over land. The outer bands of the storm are already over land. The storm has moved northward. The outer bands of the storm are already over Texas, spawning thunderstorms and even tornadoes. We need to be very much aware of what's going on. Juby Joe says he wishes I would have been his daddy. Well, thank you. Thank you, Juby Joe. I appreciate that. And if my wife is watching this, she probably appreciates it as well. My wife is doing some stuff for her children right now. I'm not sure if she's watching the program. She might be. You never know when my wife may be watching this program. I'm just telling you. My wife may be watching this program and she's not even in the chat room. She does that frequently. She wants to help our mods because I made her a mod on this channel. She wants to help me. And yesterday you saw one of our sons here on this channel. I appreciate my family watching this program. I appreciate every one of them very much. They love and support me, and they support the things that we're doing here. Because they believe in what we're doing. They believe in what we're doing. Excuse me. Rebecca says she adopted Carol and Ron as family. Thank you, Becky. I appreciate that. Just a second, I need to get a drink of water. Hurricane Heather says there are a group of storms that broke off from the main storm. They're already hitting Louisiana, and now those storms are also going over to Mississippi, Alabama, and over to Florida. That storm surge will come first. The storm surge will come first. The wind-driven rain and wind-driven water from the Gulf of Mexico will go on land. We talked last night about the storm surge. Anywhere from 2-foot high storm surge, 5-foot high storm surge, and even 10-foot high storm surge. We showed you those images last night. Those are real. Those very much are real. Okay? This is the cone of uncertainty. All of the spaghetti models for the first time in a very long time, the first time in years, a lot of years. The spaghetti models are all focusing on where this cone of uncertainty is. There isn't one spaghetti model anywhere showing any other deviation. There is not one spaghetti model anywhere that's showing any kind of deviation from this cone of uncertainty. Here's that picture of the storm surge. The area around Houston, 1 to 3 foot of storm surge. The coastline of Texas going into Louisiana, 3 to 5 foot and up to 10 foot of storm surge. Lake Pontchartrain, Bourne Lake, those areas out there, 2 to 4 foot of storm surge. As I said, Lake Pontchartrain will have more water in it than it's had since Hurricane Katrina. Mississippi into Mobile, Alabama, from 4 foot to 7 foot of water, possibly as low as 2 to 4 foot, depending on high tide. Depending on high tide. Richard Smith is asking how the storm is in the Atlantic. There are 2 storms in the Atlantic. Let me see if I have those pictures for you. Oh gosh, where did I put them? No, this just shows the storm buoys out in those areas. And yes, some of them have been activated. Some of those storm buoys have been activated. I thought I had... Just a second, I'm going to get that for you. I will get that information for you right now. Here it is. I got it for you. Let me reduce this in size a little bit so you can see what I'm saying. Okay, we have 2 storms just off the west coast of Africa. Okay, these are only tropical depressions, tropical disturbances. They're in the Atlantic Ocean. There is a 70% chance of that storm with that yellow X of becoming a tropical depression hurricane. Okay, there is a possibility for that storm labeled with by that yellow X becoming a hurricane by next week. By next week. We have nothing that's going to come up from the Atlantic into Florida or Puerto Rico or Cuba or anything until sometime next week. Okay? That's a fact. You've seen it here. Now, Hurricane Heather says Francine has now been labeled a hurricane. Let me take that down this. Let's bring up Fox Weather with the latest updates from Fox Weather. Delete Funds is asking, are there any updates on the volcano in the Gulf of Mexico? No. There is a volcano there, and it is heating up the Gulf of Mexico, but it is not erupting. Right now, it's not erupting at all. So we don't have to worry about it. But it is keeping the waters of the Gulf of Mexico warm. Okay? Hurricane Heather says the Francine being a hurricane has been confirmed.
towards Louisiana and talk about how they're continuing to prep for Francine's landfall. Folks in the Bayou State have had their hands full as they scramble to grab those last-minute supplies before the storm. Now, New Orleans specifically, they can expect hurricane-force winds and that torrential rain. Let's bring in Colin Arnold to break it all down. Colin is the director of the New Orleans Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. Thank you for being with us. How is your team kind of prepared for this severe weather element with Francine?
Well, thanks for having me, Steve. You know, we started a couple of days ago, and a lot of it's just getting the word out to the public, getting everyone ready, encouraging people to make preparations, not only, to shelter in place for this. It's obviously a lower level storm, but still something we need to take very seriously. Having them do the simple things around their yards to make sure that they're prepared. It's not going to create a larger issue in the streets. We typically, we ask that for this storm, this event, that these folks, our folks here at home, stay home Wednesday and Thursday, stay off of the roads, try and mitigate a lot of those dangers that are out there with, the street flooding that, is pretty inevitable in our community, being below sea level. Those are our challenges that we have to address every day. Our utilities are all on board with us. We've got positive reports about their readiness and preparedness for this. And then, a lot of it is just continuing to monitor the weather and also leaning forward on some emergency resources and things and sheltering opportunities that we have both before the storm and then after the storm passes for the community.
And as we take a look at this, it's an all-day event tomorrow with that rain. And you had mentioned it, Colin, it's kind of a lower-end storm, but it'll be strengthening on...
Attention. President Trump is going to end all taxes on Social Security.
I can't play these commercials because we will get dinged. I can't play music or we'll get dinged.
But, with the challenges of some road closures and some other things, we had to make sure that, that they had the ability to get in and out of those communities if they needed to, and they do. So we feel comfortable with where we're at there. I would say that that issue is one, and the other is, just like you said, we had a lot of rain last week. The ground's pretty saturated. I think our drainage system and the pumps and power capacity is good, but we're going to have a challenge, and I think we're ready for it. One thing is also kind of settling expectations. We get a certain amount of rain, 3 to 5, 6 inches per hour over any period of time. We're going to have street flooding challenges, and that's why I think it's really important for the public to understand that, Wednesday and Thursday, consider them lost days. Stay at home, stay off of the roads, and just really stay weather aware.
So smart, and a community that is definitely weather aware is New Orleans and Louisiana. As you said, you've been through this before, and it's the great work that your team and so many do for the preps and the knowledge to get out there with the information. Colin Arnold, New Orleans Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness Director, thank you for joining us here on Fox Weather.
Thanks, Steve.
And let's talk about on the other end of this, areas that are just too dry. We're going to take you out west, and this is in Orange County, where they're fighting the line fire. This is courtesy of Fox 11 Los Angeles, and it's just showing you how dry this area is. And then as they zoom into the north, that's the concern. If you can see the flames from this vantage point, from this distance, that is a massive fire. And look at all of the smoke that continues to pour out. They're even dialing it further back, and you'll see this smoke. Notice how it's getting pushed horizontal and it's dragging further and further out, shows you the wind speed. The big concern, too, is that the National Guard has had to come in to help because resources are dwindling. They have been battling these fires for so long out west in multiple states, the resources are drying up. And so there's more and more concern about those fires, not only in California, in Nevada, what's happening in Oregon and Idaho. It just continues. Notice this, there's multiple hot spots. You have the main line that continues in this canyon as they zoom in, but there's other hot spots on the back end. We'll have more on what's happening out west, and of course what's happening in the Gulf as Francine continues to strengthen. We'll have more. Stay with us here on Fox with the Local.
Okay. Francine is now a hurricane. 75 mile per hour winds, 66 knots northeast at 10 miles per hour. Earlier today, Francine was traveling north-northeast at 8 miles per hour. It has strengthened. It's now traveling 10 miles per hour in northeasterly direction, and it is now 75 mile per hour winds. Hurricane strength, Category 1. Now again, before this hurricane makes landfall, there is a possibility that this hurricane will become a Category 2 storm. We all need to be ready for that. We all need to be ready for that. Okay? Do you guys have any questions? Delete Fund says they bought 200 sandbags a few years ago. We do not want to stand in line during a storm. I agree. You don't have to. If you're prepared, you'll gather the things that you need for these times when you're going to need them, i.e. sandbags, water, food, emergency preparedness kits. Emergency preparedness kits including medical kits, first aid kits. Get things when you can, when they're least expensive. You know darn well that these companies hike their prices when an emergency happens so they can get more money. Get the things that you need when it's reasonable. Okay? Juby Joe's again talking about flotation devices. We talked about flotation devices a little while ago. Okay? Hurricane Heather says be ready by 0600 tomorrow morning. 0600 is 6 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be monitoring the storm off and on all night long. If it strengthens even more, we'll be coming on the air to tell you about it. We'll also be coming on the air before it goes banging into land. Does anybody have any questions for me? You all posed a lot of questions that are very good questions. You all have given out great information. I appreciate it. I really do. This helps everybody. This is what we do as a family. This is exactly what we do as a family. Also want to again ask you to give us a thumbs up. Make sure YouTube knows how much you appreciate our program. Thumbs up and the amount of time you stay on our channel, watching our channel, is an inkling for YouTube. They look at those analytics as analytical factors that let them know whether they want to let others watch this program or not. They do not let anybody just watch the programs. They judge programs by analytical factors. One of those is time watching on the program. Number 2, likes, thumbs up. So please do that. Arnold Smith says, what, price gouging? Oh yeah, that's exactly what's happening. I can guarantee it. And no, it's not right. Governors in Florida, Governor DeSantis in Florida said that he would prosecute anybody that was price gouging. I'm hoping that's going to happen in Mississippi and Alabama and New Orleans. I hope that's the case. It should not be tolerated. Yes, I'm sure about it. I'm sure about it. Anyway, guys, if do you have any other questions? I first want to ask that. Do you have any other questions? Okay? I don't want to leave you without answering your questions. Please give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this program and the information we gave you. Please tell your friends and your neighbors and your loved ones about it, and your extended family, the people you socialize with on social media, and even the people you work with. Pass this information on. There's nothing here that can't be passed on, and for everybody to get something out of it. Right now we have 65 thumbs up. I would hope by the end of the night we would have 100 plus thumbs up. Also want to give you some news. Rob52, one of my best friends here. He's also a mod on this program. He took his wife on a cruise for their anniversary this past week. While on the cruise, he came and got COVID-19. He got COVID-19. He's now back in Arizona resting. And I will be getting more information from him probably tonight. Okay? So we all need to prepare or pray for Rob and his family. Pray for Rob and his wife. They need it. Now, folks, I love you. I care about you. Please take this information and use it. Please take this information and use it. Everybody needs to see it. Everybody needs to see it, guys. I care about you. If I didn't care, I would not even be here. I would not even be here. I hope you have a good night. Like I said, if anything else happens tonight, we will be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Have a good night and a better tomorrow. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the other side. God bless. See you soon. Take care.